Hi guys, welcome to the checkpoint number 1. So what are checkpoints? Checkpoints are opportunities for us to quickly recap what we learned in the previous lessons and to make sure that you're ready to advance with the course. And a checkpoint is kind of my way to talk to you a little bit, and also an opportunity for you to reach out to me. Now obviously you should reach out to me anytime you want and anytime you need. You should not be waiting until you get to a checkpoint. So please let me know if there are things you're struggling with. You know how to reach me. The email address is right up there, guitaringenuity@gmx.com. I always respond very quickly. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to go briefly over the content, over the chords and the things you learned in the previous lessons to make sure that you're really at the level where you can continue with the course comfortably. Because if there are little things you still need to work on, now is the opportunity to go back and do that. And I will help you identifying whether or not there is a need for you to do that. And we're going to do that in a second. But I also wanted to talk to you about something that is very important. I know your fingers hurt right now, especially if you're a beginner, if you're really... if you just started from scratch, and then your fingers will hurt, irrespectively of whether you play a classical guitar with nylon strings or Western guitar with the steel strings. It will get better. It's just a matter of practice. It's with everything and anything in life. The more you do it, the better you get at it. If you play tennis, for example, you get blisters in the beginning, but after a while you just get used to it and things get much better. So that's the same concept applies here. The more you practice, the better it gets. However, you obviously need to use your common sense. If it hurts too much, then there's nothing wrong with taking a day off in between. I just need to be careful, because whenever I tell my students, oh, it's okay to take it a little easy here and there, they think of that as an opportunity to, oh, now I can paddle back and I can just take things very easy. I don't need to keep up with my practice. That's not what I'm telling you here. Your practicing routine stays the same. 5 to 6 days a week, 20 minutes a minimum a day. You can break the 20 minutes out into several sections. That's totally fine. That's actually more effective in the beginning. But I want you to stick to that practicing schedule. Unless your fingers really hurt to the point where you say, look, I need a day off, then I'll absolutely do that, okay? The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, obviously, if I'm teaching students in life lessons, I meet with them once a week. And, meeting with them gives me a chance to really intervene and say, okay, look, we need to focus on this now. And I can kind of adjust to the student and the student's need. With an online guitar course, that is extremely difficult. So, you don't have that scrutiny of a guitar teacher breathing down your neck. And that's good and bad, right? So I don't know how eager you would be having me sitting in front of you and telling you what you need to focus on, rather than practicing in the convenience of your home. But there is obviously a disadvantage, right? Because if you meet with a teacher can tell you exactly what you need to focus on. So one thing that I noticed a lot of my online guitar students do is they rush through the first few lessons. And that's normal, because you're eager, you want to learn these new chords. But usually when you look at the 25 lessons, this is pretty much, you can think of it as one lesson per week if I were teaching you in one-on-one lessons. So if I would meet you once a week, we would basically cover one lesson a week. So again, it depends on the student. Some learn faster, some learn slower. But what I'm trying to tell you is, give yourself time. Give yourself time, especially if you're a beginner right now. It takes time for your hands, your muscles, your posture, everything mentally to adjust to a practicing routine. And you know, the worst thing you do is rush right now, and then, you know, when you get to lesson number 10 or so, you feel like, oh, you run out of steam. So take your time. You have a full year access to the course. And if a year is not enough, I'll give you another year for free. So don't worry about that. Take your time, practice by using a regular practicing routine as I outlined, and then you will be fine. Also, if you can, it's not mandatory, but if you can, tape yourself, send me a video of, or an audio if you don't want to, you know, just produce a video, then just record yourself and send it over to me. I would love to hear from you. Again, it's not mandatory. If you don't want to do that, that's fine, but it's an opportunity. It's something I'd like to offer, so I can at least, you know, have a look. First of all, I'm curious to see how you're doing, but then also I might be able to say, oh, you know what? Just seeing that or listening to that, I think you need to focus a little bit more on this or that. So again, that's all part of the course. I'm trying to make that course as interactive as possible and kind of mirror a life experience to the extent possible. Okay, enough babbling. Again, I'm going to zoom you in right now. We go briefly over the things that you should be comfortable doing by now, meaning the chords, the chord changes. And if you're not, then it's a good point in time to give yourself another week or so. Go back, revisit some of the lessons. Use the chord bank. Have you been using the chord bank? Very likely you haven't, but the chord bank, the link is right up there. Chord bank is ideal for you if you struggle with a certain chords. Let's say you struggle with the C major chord. Go to the chord bank, pull up the C major chord, click on that link. It's a 1-minute video or so where I show you what you need to do in a close-up view, high definition, what you need to do with your left hand and with your right hand. And this is how you can practice chords quickly, just to refresh your memory, as opposed to going through an entire lesson. All right, I'm going to bring you in now, and then we'll take it from there, okay? So let's quickly recap what we learned so far. We learned the E minor chord. We learned the D major chord. We learned a G major. We learned an A major. Just recently we learned the C major and the E major chord. So what you should be able to do by now, what you need to be comfortable with before you move on with the course is, if I tell you right now, please show me an E major chord, you should know, okay, I need to put my fingers here, and for the E major chord, I play all the strings, and I can play that. If you're at this point still struggling with some of the chord changes that we discussed, that's perfectly normal. Nobody expects of you to do these at this point perfectly. That would be almost impossible. So if you still struggle changing from a C major into G, that is perfectly normal, because that's quite of a stretch and quite of a chord change. So don't worry about that too much. However, at this point, I want you to feel comfortable playing the chords individually. So all the 6 chords we discussed right now, you should know how to play them. You should feel comfortable, building the chords on the fretboard, and you should know which strings you're supposed to strum for each respective chord. That's all that we need at this point as far as content is concerned. You should be using your thumb, not a guitar pick. The reason why I'm using a guitar pick is because it sounds louder, and that's just better for recording purposes. The guitar pick is actually something we're going to cover, I believe, in the next lesson. So then I'm going to introduce you to that thing here. Most students prefer to play with a pick. You don't have to do that, to be very clear. It's just I'm doing that because, again, the vast majority of students prefers to play with a pick. It's just more popular. You can do a bunch of more things. But if you don't want to use a guitar pick and just continue strumming with your thumb, that's perfectly okay. All right, that's it. I'll see you next time.